Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I abstain.
Motion carried.
You gotta go home and speak to Chris.
Thank you.
Next item up is the Veterans Park. And my understanding by talking to some people about it is that and I used to work in moving dirt, so I know somewhat about it, but they wanted, the engineering firm wanted to do the parking lot and trail. And Myers have backed off. They don't want anything to do with the trail. So we're out there. And then the trail, the parking lot, the trail was $305,000 cost. And the parking lot was $437,000, but then when you go to the second phase, then they got another $215 or $215,000. But Chuck and I were talking about it the other day somewhat, and technically I think I guess we didn't agree 100% on it. But anyway.
What's unusual about that?
The parking lot and the trail, as far as I'm concerned, they got it down as first phase. I would rather see it be the fourth phase if we're going to do anything. And the other thing I don't like about this whole thing is that they've got a lot charged for engineering, way too much. And if we're ever to accomplish that park, and it wouldn't be a bad idea, but to have it, but we can't spend, it could bankrupt this town of Stanton, and we ain't gonna do that. But the contingency, they got a total, this is an overrun of $719,000. Now that's pretty sloppy as far as I'm concerned. And design engineering on all four phases is $345,000. And then you get into the construction part of it.
Ken, do we have a motion we're talking about here? What are we talking about now? Are we moving to do something or?
Well, we've been doing it the wrong way, and next meeting we're gonna have to change it. And that is we shouldn't even talk about it until there's a motion on the table. And support. If we don't get support, then it's a dead issue. But, and I agree 100% with what you're saying on that, but I was just citing some of the figures, and to drive stakes in and take a transit and see what dirt needs to be moved and all of that, that's $363,000. And the one point I wanted to make out of this was that, and Chuck mentioned it the other day, and another friend of mine, he mentioned it, that sometime if we ever go this route, I think there's more pressing things on Main Street. But if we ever make this a reality, I think we should do it more in-house than go out and get all these guys to do it. And so actually, they call it the Veterans Park. Well, Bookwalter wants to move that either down to the other park or up to that park. The proper place, I think, would be up there on 66. But we could get volunteers, and as far as Chuck said the other day, and it makes sense, is you get to the ball fields, you get somebody in here to do some excavating, then a lot of work, handwork, could be done by the Little League and other volunteers. And then you start building when you get the volunteers, because we can't afford, this is actually, it was in the paper as $5 million. Actually, when you add it up, it's $6,300,000 and some thousand. And it's out of our realm to do that, as far as I'm concerned. So you have a comment on that, Chuck, to like getting the volunteers and?
We have no motion. I'll make a motion to do phase one. And then we'll get discussion.
For $300,000?
That's my motion. I think we got something that we can discuss it and then come to something different. But we were just talking.
What's that $300,000 gonna do? You spend it. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
Bull crap. I got on this commission November 15th. Monica Tishy wasn't the mayor. December
What are we talking about now?
20th. Unless I got
Well-
my year wrong.
One topic at a time. One topic at a time, please.
Yeah.
Can't keep up, can
Well, it's just, we need to talk about, this is why we need some training. One thing at a time here.
Point of order, there's not been a second on the motion.
What was the motion?
That we do phase one of the article.
Read the motion back.
Motion to start phase one of the park.
Do we have a support or not? No support, we don't have a motion. Any other motion or any discussion?
I believe we can have a discussion without necessarily having a motion of action. I think that now, I'm going to give my opinion, now that we have a firm idea of who's going to be city manager for the next year, I think that should be one of her top priorities, is to chart a plan for how we're going to proceed with this. That she be charged with giving us options, with setting down a proposed plan, and making the necessary communications with whoever we need to do in order to, so that this does not come before the state legislature, because I understand that we have a potential application pending that if it's passed by the legislature and then we reject it, we could put ourselves in jeopardy for future grants if we wanted to do that. And so I think we need to charge the city manager with investigating the possibility and making the necessary communication of drawback that we are not going to proceed at this time with the major grant, and I forget the name of which one it is, but that we do not get this in front of the state legislature.
Well, we have three grants in this
There's two.
phase one.
There's two grants.
Huh?
There's two grants, the DNR trust fund grant and the NDOT TAP grant. There's two
Yeah, and then
grants.
there was, the third one was a match with Fred Meyer Trail, and they've said no. But I don't, has the grant been filed, or where is it at for the MDOT?
Both of those have been filed and it's just waiting to go before legislation.
So,
And have we heard from both of them that it's a go or not a go? DNR says it's a go.
Yes, and so did NDOT. It has been approved but not awarded yet. And that's what Carl was talking about, that if we let it go before the legislation and they decide, okay, we're gonna grant you this money, and then we rescind our grants, it's not actually written out, but it's pretty known that if you rescind after it's gone through legislation, that you won't receive grants. And that is coming up in March. So I would recommend that as a commission, you guys decide whether or not you want to rescind both grants or not. Before the next, I would say, because our next meeting is the 28th.
so, in the last day here, I heard conflicting information with that. I was under that impression that if we pull out before it hits the legislature, then there's no penalty. And we have an opportunity to be awarded grants in the future. And then, in a conversation yesterday, it sounded like if we did pull out before it hit the legislature, we would still be frowned upon for future grants because of that. What have you heard about?
Well, speaking with Roe, they basically are saying that if you rescind before it goes to legislation, that's not going to hurt you.
Okay.
But if you let it go through legislation, and then that's where it will hurt your future grants.
That's my understanding too. So we're looking at, if we had both these grants at $696, we would still have to come up with $358,000. We can't do it.
It's in the budget now. There's 100 and something for this year and next year, I think.
Well, what Roe had said is that our previous city manager had budgeted in our capital outlay for the engineering portion of phase 1 out of this fiscal. So the engineering there is, let's see, what is the engineering for? There is the money in this fiscal year for the engineering. That,
Which was, I mean, that counts for our match, doesn't it?
Where's that at in the budget?
it's in the capital outlay underneath Parks and Recs, there's roughly, without having the figures in front of me, $132,000 left. I don't know the exact penny
Well, I
amount,
mean,
but
I guess somebody's talking about you doing investigation where they are, and you report back to us next meeting, that makes sense.
Well, we're gonna have to get that letter in
Before March.
fairly quick,
that's the
because
thing.
there's legislators, I've been told, will meet in March.
Mhm.
And we can't spend, we can't come up with $358,000. And this, as far as I'm concerned, this is backwards. I used to move dirt for a big contractor. And I don't think we should ever have a trail up there. Because anywhere they could walk there, they would be fine walking. And the trail would, this should have been the last part of the deal. So I would recommend that we have a motion to not take this money, send a letter to them, and thank them and apologize to them, and then regroup or get the zoning commission to get involved in this and see, because this whole thing is not good. Especially the second phase of it's out of this world.
Well, let's not do the second phase, let's do the first phase.
Yeah, I'm just even doing the first phase.
It's like that, the grants that they pull in from the veterans, I doubt them will come when they find out it's Children's Park. And I will voice my opinion on that. Because I draw 100% from the
So
VA.
what's your pleasure? And I stated my opinion. I don't have a vote. Up to you.
I make a motion, we send a letter to Lansing to put everything on hold, to withdraw.
Do we have a support?
Support.
Any further discussion?
Yes, right. This city has nothing to draw people to, but we don't have industry. We're trying the master plan is to make this a comfortable place for people to come and enjoy living. And this park is one of those things that was suggested in that plan. The planners have done survey of people, the Rotary Club, the Little League has done a lot of work to get this going. And I think it's a bad mistake to not have it happen. We don't need to go home with $5 million. I think that's way too much. But we've got a grant for this, and the parking lot I think can be included with that, some groundwork on the baseball fields, and then the Little League can they put in 2 fields down here and 2 fields up behind the jail. We can move the memorial down here from Bookwalters. The Rotary Club has got money for, we'll have money for disc golf. I think if we get something there, it'd be much easier to raise money and develop it. But I think this community needs something to attract families here. And this is something that we can use and need. I don't think we need a $5 million job paid for at the beginning, we, spread it over the next 10 years to work out. I think we need to develop it and, for the community.
But I agree on that. Why don't we take 100,000 and put down here? Fix what we got. Bring it up to what everybody expects.
Well, I mean, at this stage, we've got a
You want it to be a veterans park, but yet it's only for children? So, Little League, everybody keeps saying, where does that come in? You said everybody talked to the community. I live right next to the courthouse, I have that stand down there. I see hundreds of people every month. Nobody knew about this park.
Mayor? In my mind, we're talking about two different things, and that is, and maybe I'm not understanding the grants enough, but my concern is that we don't get the whole project grant before the legislature. And so his motion, I think, speaks to that. I am in favor of developing it up there on a smaller scale, not to the major scale that we had planned on, but we can do that. That's why I'm saying I think Elizabeth needs to set out a plan for us similar, I mean, in the same manner that Jake envisioned this and pushed it forward. We need to let Elizabeth bring to us a plan to develop that in a smaller way. And so that's just my opinion. My concern is, though, that we don't jeopardize our situation in the future and that we get this away from the legislature so that we don't jeopardize ourselves in the future. That's why I supported his motion. I did not want to imply that I'm not in favor of developing or doing something up there at the park, because I think it is a good opportunity. I think it is good to be able to have a veterans memorial there and also serve young children as well as middle age people for walking, and this park. You know, I have no problem with that. I just think we can do it on a smaller scale, and I think we need to withdraw from these grants.
Well, like I said, though, if you spend, get grants, it'd be a total of $690,000, and you still have to come up with 358, and that's a lot of money.
That was my point, that let's withdraw from the grants and take a step back, let her do her job, and go forward from there.
Let's stop where we're gonna get hurt for later on.
Here, what, you want to read the motion back that we got on the table?
You started one, and it said, motion to
You
take,
can't have it.
yeah, okay, it wasn't ever rescinded, okay. Motion to send a withdrawal to Lansing, and it was seconded by Yoder.
Any other questions?
It should be a little more specific than that, but
Well,
The grants for the venture, for the park.
This is new to her, this is our first meeting.
okay.
You get that board to manage your
A
question.
withdrawal to Lansing grants for the
You take that $170,000 you got now and start developing your own little project on your own. Without the, I've done topographic drawings before, and I don't cost what you guys are talking about. I land at their level. A little bit solid, but can you use that money to start a park? That's next motion, go ahead.
You, did you hear the, you're satisfied with what you heard?
well, it wasn't really specific,
I
but
added to it, you want me to read it again?
yes, please.
Okay. Seaman motion to send a withdrawal to Lansing to rescind the grant for the venture for the Veterans Park.
Does that sound right?
I don't know what the terminology is, rescind or withdraw.
You're gonna rescind your grants. You might want to put the DNR
amend your motion.
DNR
Yeah.
and MDOT grant.
Yep, I got it.
Are we straight now? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye. Nay.
Motion carried. We'll open it up for public comments.
Mayor.
Your public.
No, never mind, never mind.
Naomi?
River Street, Sam. When you were discussing the, about the leaf bank and going and picking it up and things like that, I don't know if I missed it or, but I was wondering if you could, I have a request if you could be a little more transparent on the monies being spent. Like, I missed how much it would cost for them to bring it here. As opposed to
$1,500.
opposed to what our person would go and get it, you know, so in your discussions, we were kind of blind, I was blind and, you know, on your vote, you know, because of the amounts, I didn't know what you were actually voting on and discussing. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Did you hear what he said?
Yes, 1,500. I'm just asking you to be a little more transparent when discussing the monies. So we know when you're voting, how you're voting, and why. And, I guess that's it.
Any other public comments? Diane?
Diane Lowell. I think a park is a really good idea, but I would really like it if Elizabeth checked out improving this one, spending not as much money that's in the plans there on the other one, or whatever's gonna work best for Stanton. But I also need to remind you, if you take some of that money and spend it on Main Street to get some more businesses here, there'll be more people to pay more taxes, I mean, Chuck said it best. He stopped in our store and we talked for a while about what's happening with the city and the businesses and stuff, and then he left and he popped his head back in and said, it's 11:30 on a Saturday morning and there are 3 cars parked on Main Street. So before you spend millions on a park, I would really like it if you spent a little more getting more businesses here.
Maybe get some fake police cars just parking out.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Entertain a motion to adjourn?
Can she use some of that $170,000 or whatever it is sitting in the case to develop that thing up there? And fix up this? I mean, you got the money, you got it on the side, you just killed the program to go with it. Can she use it? You got it earmarked for that park.
Oh, I see what
Can
you're
she,
saying.
can you get her some money to fix up these 2 parks?
Well, I think that once I propose a plan to them, that would include.
You can use that money.
The problem we got right now is that the contract, at least with schools, so they gotta have 4 golf fields up there by 2010, 20, something.
By 2020, that would be complete.
So-
And I know that the
It's
school
their
would
bill,
be.
if we negotiate the lease, but we negotiate the lease with the school.
Oh, yeah, cool, they don't have to, it's gotta leave.
Everything's pretty much there.
You know, anything else for
Easy to
it?
take care of, yeah. They would be flexible. They don't. See, that was gonna be-
Judy?
I'm looking at a piece of property in town. It's a house that's abandoned. It's been sitting for God only knows how long. The basement's full of water. And I kind of was dealing with Larry Peterson on whatever he came up with when they drained the property. But now Larry's not around. I don't want, the bank is telling me it's still in the hands of, what is it, the Fannie Mae, the Freddie something.
Pretty much.
And he's supposed to be getting back with me any day now when they release it. But I need to know what the condition is of the house before I say, yeah, I want to buy it.
Won't the bank let you do that?
Pardon me?
Let the bank let you, once they get that little water.
Well, I would like to know what Jane came up with when he went in and drained out the water. Is that property destroyed?
It wouldn't have anything to do with me or what we did. We should go to the bank.
Pardon me?
You should probably get some victims back.
Well, but he already did. I mean, he drained it. Is it still empty or is it gone back in? We don't know.
I have any idea.
Does the city own this property?
It's owned by the bank.
And why- If it's owned by the bank, why is our guy grant?
Pardon me? Well,
Just to
that's,
help them out, they'll let them. I helped them out at one point, with the pump, city owned pump.
well, at the last that I knew, it was full of water because of the city water. It's city water. It was a problem with the city. So if I go and buy this property and there's still water coming out of the city water line, then it's a city problem.
Get yourself on a, guy.
Get it perspective.
Get us, that's what I'm gonna do.
Pardon me?
Get somebody that does that for a living.
Well-
Recommend.
Just put a hose and run it up to the park and.
Yeah, create a water flow.
We have a motion to adjourn?
I have one more quick comment.
All right.
On the park, somebody mentioned that Bookwalder wanted to move the veterans thing up there. I think that's a good idea, and maybe Elizabeth could check into that also. I don't know, I don't even know, do we own the property up there now?
Oh, we have
We'll never
a
lease.
lease.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'd like to, if he wants to do something with that memorial, I think we ought to do something with it if we can. Just, I don't know, maybe investigate it further, I don't know. But I didn't know we didn't own the property. That makes it even more complicated.
It's leased.
I think we need a goal here on really what we want to do first and then go from there. We need a goal and then
We
a
need
plan. A plan. We need an,
Affordable option.
yeah, okay, so that's all I got. I've said enough tonight. I think go home.
Carl?
I would feel more comfortable if the mayor would let us know the procedure that he plans to do to fill the council seat. I've been uncomfortable in times past with the mayor just showing up and saying, I nominate so-and-so. I think there should be some kind of process, and it goes back to what Ray was talking about, policy, some kind of process that the general citizens, number one, know that there's a vacancy, and number two, how they could apply for that, and your process in picking. So, do you have an idea, Mayor, of how you're gonna go
Not at the
about
moment, but I will.
this? Okay. You have,
I
you have
totally
time.
agree with you.
Yeah.
You can advertise it on
The
the
Michigan
website.
Municipal League, that we're members of, has an outline, guideline for that.
You haven't got that school all set up yet, have you?
No, I
Everything
was
matches.
waiting, because you guys tabled it to see if other municipalities were interested in it, so I'm waiting to hear back from them. So at the next meeting, I will, who wants to participate and who doesn't, and then you guys can, I will ask for a motion to be made on it.
To clarify the point I was making, are you going to attempt to make a nomination in the next 2 weeks? Or what is your procedure?
You have 30 days to do it, but I'm gonna do it quicker than that.
Okay.
Right, the
My
charter.
point was that somehow this audience needs to know how they can, are they to contact you if they're interested, or?
Everything goes through her. They contacted the office and put in an application.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, what the procedure was, so
Yeah.
that if
Great.
anybody interested.
Hey, I just got the job, I haven't had time.
I know, and I'm not trying to, you know.
No, I know,
I
Carl,
just,
I know
I
that.
just think it ought to be clear so that
You should know.
I don't feel comfortable with the mayor just coming and say, I nominate so-and-so, when I don't know if anybody else has had a chance to even talk to him about it.
Well, my recommendation on that would be that at one meeting, say that I want so-and-so, and then don't vote to the next meeting, because then that gives you time to do what you wanna do.
Okay. so
And they
that
can
gives
put in
us
a resume, or,
an
you
idea
know,
of what you're doing.
why they think they should be able to do that job. Because I believe a lot of stuff doesn't need to come to the table today and then be voted immediately. Sometimes you do, but a majority of the time, it can go another meeting or so. Because then you get a better deal.
Like the park.
Yeah, we'll have, there's a discussion coming on. I know it.
Well, you guys have input on Eagle and Mary? Will you guys be able to vote on it or decide?
Well,
Or are you the only one that makes a decision?
no,
They all do?
I could pick somebody, but they have to agree. If they don't agree, that person's out.
What? Wait, and what?
They-
Who you appoint?
Yeah,
We had no choice but Chuck. It was appointed right then and there. Read the minutes.
Your votes, yeah.
There was no vote.
Absolutely.
no, we didn't do no voting tonight.
The night Chuck was, and
So they would
Larry
have
picked Chuck,
a
there was
quorum
no
vote.
vote.
They did it before,
Yeah,
so they would
okay.
have a quorum vote that night. Now, we won't get into that.
I
Well,
don't,
my question is, I got this question. Because it's the council, can a business owner be on it or not? I didn't know.
Resident.
no, that's to
be
be a
resident.
citizen of the town.
Because, I meant not vote because it's not a election vote, I guess. It's a council vote. So I didn't know if it was,
To be on the commission, you have to be a resident of the city.
oh, okay. I didn't know.
Mayor, not to prolong this, but I was not at that meeting where Chuck was appointed.
That's right.
And if he was not voted on, then I know that it was not on the agenda, but we need to do that tonight.
Got a discussion first.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Pardon me?
Can I look into this and let you guys know, and I'll look back into the minutes to see if there was a vote or not a vote?
Yeah, there wasn't.
Does she have the minutes?
I don't remember whether there was or wasn't.
Can we just reaffirm it tonight?
Yeah.
I move that we reaffirm the fact that Chuck Powell is.
Is there support?
Support.
I'm not supporting, I'm not voting.
Carl, can you say your motion again, please?
That we approve the nomination of Chuck Mile, that we reaffirm, that we reaffirm the fact that Chuck Mile is city commissioner. Because if he hadn't been voted on, then it needs to be voted on. That was a comment after the motion.
Support.
We have a support, motion and support. Any discussion on Chuck?
Want me to leave?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. This is not on a mistake on mine. I had nothing to do with it. And I can't vote for him either or against him. I lost my vote. Are we done discussing? We need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Support? All those in favor say aye.